Now, I'm definitely not a libertarian, except when it comes to pot and hookers. Crimes in which the only victims are anxiety and my boner. Come on, who's with me, people? Other than that, I'm definitely not a deregulate everything kind of guy. That being said, if you're ever hanging out with someone and they for real say there ought to be a law, well, that person is a grade A fucking moron. Because it was precisely that sort of reactionary thinking that led to the Arizona permission to be a douchebag law that Jan Brewer vetoed this week. See, there has been exactly one serious case concerning this matter. A wedding photographer who refused to photograph a lesbian commitment ceremony. Now, let's be clear, these photographers are either a right-wing plant or total assholes. Because FYI, all they had to do was say, hey, we're busy, or we don't want the job. But clearly, what they said was, hey, lesbians, your love is wrong and ugly. It was a dick move, and they got what they deserved, which was a court decision of discrimination, which was upheld by the New Mexico Supreme Court. The right, either waiting for something like this or reacting to it like jackals, not only introduced legislation into Arizona's legislature, but at least 9 other states as well. One incident, and we get 10 pieces of legislation. There ought to be a law? No, there ought not be a law. Laws are supposed to be reserved for actual widespread issues that can't be easily resolved by, say, a photographer getting on the phone and saying, hey, sorry I was such a dick to you. Good luck with your scissoring or whatever it is you people do. Meanwhile, across the country, North Carolina has a situation where not only there ought to be a law, there actually are several laws which were bent and manipulated, resulting in one of the worst domestic environmental disasters in history. Highly toxic ponds of coal ash have been leaking into groundwater for years in North Carolina, which is flat out illegal, but unprofitable to amend. Oh, and the North Carolina Department of Environment and Natural Resources for certain knew about these coal ash leaks. Citizen environmental groups sued Duke Energy on at least 2 different occasions, but the DENR interfered and slow-walked the process. Well, wouldn't you know it, on February 2nd, a coal ash pond broke and spilled about 35,000 tons of coal ash into the Dan River. North Carolina Governor Pat McCrory was employed by Duke Energy for 28 years. The secretary who Pat McCrory appointed to head the DENR, John Scavaria, is among other things an advocate for the completely discredited belief that fossil fuels are infinite. Both McCrory and Scavaria were and are both heavy advocates for there ought to be a law if it gets in the way of making money, but seriously, fuck the queers. My point here is this. The Republican legislative agenda could not be a more irrational state of total bullshit if it tried. And I shouldn't have to say this for it to be obvious to fucking everyone.